This is not sexual. This is not funny. It's actually pretty sad, so let's get into these 5 things you did not understand about Demon Slayer. Hello comrade, my name is Mahias. Come, get yourself a beverage and sit down with me. We got to culture your ass. Boy, have I read many comments about how inappropriate his behavior was. This motherfucker already has 3 wives and he dares to slap that minor ass. Yes, Ao is in her late teens and it's hard to call this consensual, so I understand people hating on this. However, this has nothing to do with that degeneracy. Let us consult Google real quick. Show me a disciplining procedure. No, not this modern crap. Show me the real shit. Now we're talking. You see, the Demon Slayer Corps is a borderline military organization. Their sole purpose is to eradicate demons, so no shit Sherlock. That naturally comes with a strict hierarchy. We see it being mentioned a few times, Mizunoto at the very bottom and Hashira at the top. Consider it private to colonel more or less. For those who don't understand how the military works, if Surge told the private to go and do something, the private goes and does it, no questions asked, period. Now imagine a colonel issuing a direct bloody order to said sergeant. There is no way he or she would disobey, and if that is to happen, the punishment is severe. According to Canadian National Defence Act, that's where I live, every person who disobeys a lawful command of a superior officer is guilty of an offence, and on conviction is liable to imprisonment for life or less punishment. But we're talking about a century ago. It could have been way worse. And Aoi was let go after one gentle spank. Tengen is a very nice and chill person considering all the shit he has been through in his lifetime, and that's a fucking understatement if I've ever made one. You can say no, if that was the case, he would have just let her go without that if he's so nice and blah blah blah. No. Regardless, she did disobey his command, and in order to maintain a superior-subordinate relationship, he issued a punishment, a disciplinary spank, and that was it. Now, I am the way I am, so let's talk about loot stuff. Entertainment District, and more specifically, its hardworking employees. 3 important things. Geishas have nothing to do with this, they are a separate, non-sexual entertainment. Not everyone who works there is selling their body, and not everybody is there against their will. To move geisha out of the way, they are a good company for a person or group. They do traditional singing, dancing, playing the samisen, overall paladin friendly, but we are talking about heresy at the moment. There are a bunch of people involved in that trade and we get a good glance at it in the show. For starters, yes, women are indeed an object of trade, as sad as it sounds. Many poor families have sent their children there, but there were many more ways of getting in than getting out. Although the career opportunities were likely significantly bigger than our dead-end jobs, as women could marry their clients, buy themselves out, climb through the ranks, and yes, of course there was an entire fucking system. Pun unintended. Oiran being at the very top, for example. You may ask, what's so special about her? Just more expensive? If only. Oiran could choose their customers, choose when to engage in sexual activity, usually only after 3 visits or so at least. They were educated, cultured, trained in many forms of art to provide the best, beautiful, and intelligent company. They have even influenced the fashion of that period in a way, given their very elaborate clothes, which brings another point. There were plenty of craftsmen living there to accommodate for clothes, wares, and other necessities. We also see children there. That's why Tengen took Naho, whose age is in single digits. They are basically little helpers to Oiran, for example, soon to be apprenticed to be a courtesan after they're old enough and done training. It's part why we see Gyotaro wishing a better life for his sister as a prostitute. She would have had her essentials covered, prospects for the future, plus an education, not in a modern sense, but still, it would have been nothing but an upgrade from their previous life. Nevertheless, it is still a very dangerous and unforgiving occupation. There have been many deaths due to STDs, lack of medicine, and straight-up abuse. This profession was more of a last resort of sorts, borderline slavery with little light at the end of a long tunnel. Now, on to something fun. Crows. Seriously, why crows of all animals? Shinigami had butterflies, ninja had various animals, hawks for communication. On the other hand, why not? Crows are smart, resourceful, and no doubt can navigate well. As usual, there's more to it, my friend. These guys are called Kasugai Karasu if I recall correctly. Kasugai means a tie or a bond, and Karasu is a crow. So you can say these crows are a bond between the organization and the individual, but they also serve as a GPS and there is a good reason for that. Japanese folklore plays a big role in Demon Slayer. Yatagarasu, for example, is a three-legged giant-ass crow who has been sent by a certain god to guide Jimmy the hero on his journey to become the first emperor. This crow can be considered a god of guidance, hence our feathered friends navigating those slayers. Mahis, but what about this crackhead? He got a sparrow! Well, let me tell you a story. There are several interpretations. I'll use William Elliot Griffiths' The Tongue-Cut Sparrow. There has been an elderly couple, a modest husband and a haggard wife. The man had a pet sparrow, whom he cherished, but one day in his absence, the wife made some starch and the sparrow ate some. In furious anger, she took some scissors, cut off the bird's tongue, and threw him away. The man got very sad and tried to find his friend, and so he did in a forest. The sparrow invited him into his house to see the family and have some refreshments. But before saying goodbye, he offered him 2 boxes, one was big, one was little. Aware of his age and limitations, he picked the smaller one and thanked the sparrow. Upon opening the box at home, he discovered various treasures inside, and that bitch got jealous and greedy and ran off to the sparrow's home, where she was greeted merely out of politeness with some tea. She then demanded a parting gift and picked a larger chest. However, inside she found oni and snakes and skeletons who proceeded to tear her to pieces. The end. Zenitsu in many ways is like this man, humble, kind, and lacked confidence in his ability at that time. That's why his companion is a sparrow, likely a reference to that story. Next thing we're covering is Rui, or why did Muzan treat him in a much different way than the others? Think about it, positive reinforcement for Daki, negative reinforcement for Akaza. Kyogai got the sour treatment. Rui, on the other hand, is treated well and got an exclusive privilege. He was allowed to create a family. On top of that, he got turned just because. He was a sick child, not hurting anyone, definitely not eating people. To understand what's what, we need to go into some spoilers from manga, so if you would like to skip this part, here's the time code. For those who are still here, Muzan is a coward and does not allow any demons to team up because he's afraid of them going against him. That's why Rui's situation is extraordinary, even the upper ranks can't do that. But why though? As a human, Muzan was mortally ill and did everything in his power to find help, and so he did, even though he kinda shot himself in the foot in the process. And that is exactly the reason why Rui gets special treatment, because Muzan actually sympathizes with him. They basically have the same origin story. It appears that our big bad has a soft spot after all. You can argue that Muzan is confident in his control over Rui with those psychological tricks he pulled off, making him hate his family and shit, and to reinforce that, he allowed him to create his version of a family. But that doesn't sound convincing given Muzan's personality, who wouldn't take such risk. Finally, Rengoku. What's so sad about this, you ask? Fucking everything, man. Let's look at his behavior and personality for a bit. He's a very positive swordsman who has overcome his tough past and is ready for hardships of the future, including his death. But he doesn't actively seek it. He's okay dying for people, for his subordinates, or of old age. His mind is at peace, and that is a reference to how samurai treated death, something to be aware of and prepared for. Example, taking a bath and cleaning yourself in general before getting into battle. No wonder they have adopted Zen Buddhism well, because it speaks to their way of life. Let go of earthly attachments and so on. I'm putting it very simply. Because it is reasonable. Take tea ceremony for example. It's meant to distract you from everyday life. On top of that, provide quality time with your close ones because they might not be around for much longer. They had it rough back in the day. Feudal wars and other conflicts, death was always around the corner. Same thing with demons. Slayers' mortality rates are through the roof when their life expectancy is the opposite. And this mad lad is ready for it. That's why he lives in the present to the fullest in a way. That's why he savors every bite, because he knows it can be his last. He was mindful of and grateful for everything and everyone around him. Even after suffering a fatal blow, he encouraged our squad to become who they want to become. Push forward and follow your heart. Which is so true because our heart is always in the present. That's why his favorite line was to set your heart ablaze. Even if the situation is sad. Even if his death is sad. Don't be. Cheer up and follow your dreams instead. As you can see, Japanese culture has influenced the show quite a bit. Duh. Understanding it helps us appreciate the world and the characters a bit more. And I hope now you do too. It was I, Mahis, almost crying into the microphone. Have a great whatever time of the day you have. Until next time, cheers.